Let me now bring on board Suresh Mahadevan, Managing Director and Head of Equities with UBS Securities. Suresh, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Suresh, let me give you some options. What do you want to start with? Implications of the new RBI guidelines on banking license, what will happen to Bharti, or why Infosys is outperforming Indian markets?
No, good morning, Nikunj. Good to speak to you. I think maybe I'll stick to my comfort zone, which is Bharti. So I think, what is your specific question on Bharti?
My specific question on Bharti is that things are looking rather upbeat for the Indian telecom sector. Do you expect the finance minister will be able to do something special to change the fortunes of the entire telecom sector in the budget?
No, I think for the sector, there doesn't seem to be anything big. I mean, obviously, license fees has now been rationalized at 8 or whatever, uniform. And also, I think, there is not a lot he can do. I think the tower sector has been lobbying for clearly, giving them infrastructure stratas and some tax deductions. Again, I'm not sure if it will materialize. In fact, I think to the contrary, I think we read some newspaper reports earlier that, the government is thinking of taxing them 8% of revenues, which also I don't think will come through. So I think, the telecom sector should be overall okay from a budget standpoint, though I think, the minister will put some numbers for spectrum sales in the next financial year, which I think the only, comment I have is I think the reserve prices in the past have been very high. And I think that has led to a situation where demand is far lower than supply. And I think, given it's an auction, to have proper price discovery, I think the reserve prices need to be kept very low. But I'm not sure if the government is in a mood to do that. But I think, that's what they need to do if they expect, price discovery in the auctions.
Suresh, hi, morning. Let's get out of the comfort zone and move away from telecom. What about the market? Because we're in a market right now where retail investors have been shying away from investing. DIIs as well as FIIs have been taking profits. Do you think the budget could turn out an event wherein this scenario could change?
See, first of all, I think the market is probably very confused between soft near-term data points such as, the IIP numbers or economic growth, which partly is a result of the government's ability to control expenditure. Because, if you look at the expenditure of the government for October to December, it was almost flat. I think it was down like 10 bips or something, which I think shows an incredible amount of expenditure control. So, I mean, the after effect of that is, the economic growth will be slower, the IIP numbers are slower, etc. And clearly, in a scenario where the private sector investment has come off pretty significantly, I think the government tightening its purse string is not that great for near-term data points. So having said that, I think it gives RBI probably the ammunition if inflation were to slow, as well as if the government were able to demonstrate fiscal discipline, then it lays the framework for the RBI to ease a little bit more aggressively, because then growth is the real problem, not so much inflation. And I think, the market is trying to, understand which one to focus on. So when the data points do come out, the market gets a little nervous, thinking that this may persist for longer. But our view has been that, actually, you have the Indian market where valuations are not very expensive. We are still probably one standard deviation below the 10-year average. So I would tend to think that it's a good risk reward this market is offering, and I do expect the budget to, of course, come up with a good fiscal deficit number, which already is known. But I think more importantly, I think there will be credibility associated with those numbers, how the math works, etc. I think that is what people are going to be focused on, and I think the budget I would expect to be reasonably positive even for the markets, going by what the finance minister's intent so far has been.
Suresh, what about the new norms in bank licenses? Do you think at the time of implementation, the RBI may be stringent and issue just 4 or 5 licenses?
Yeah, I don't think there are going to be way too many licenses issued other than 4 or 5 to start with, I think. But yeah, I think the norms do look a little bit more liberal than what people had thought originally. And I think, clearly, I think there is a couple of things here, right? One is obviously how inclusive you want to be. And, currently PSU banks obviously have been trying to do more of this stuff versus the private banks. So I think, it may not be a bad thing, but I don't expect a lot of,
Right.
opening of floodgates and a lot of licenses being issued.